Hello there. This is General Grievous, and you are watching the Cantina Club.
The Book of Boba Fett has arrived, and here we are on December 29th, 2021, the day Boba Fett premieres, and we're about to watch episode 1 and do a bit of a reaction to that, see how that goes. And we've got a little cameo right there from Boba Fett, who actually showed up to watch with us. And, oh yeah, wow, we got prototype Boba Fett here too. Nice.
Every manner of Boba Fett.
Every manner of Boba Fett. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
So, all right, so we're going to jump in here in just a second, right when we come back. And afterwards, we're going to kind of just give our thoughts and just discuss and see what we thought about the whole thing. All right, don't go anywhere. Come right back.
We all know around here, Solo always does shots first. Singing Yup No, raise your glass.
Yeah, it's one of the
Sing
cooler
Yup No,
Black Series
sing it
songs for
with
sure.
me. Yup No.
Yeah, I got I won't spoil the surprise yet, but I did get a Black Series.
Nice.
I'll show you when we do our actual character thing next week. Yeah,
I need to do it in reverse, so.
All right, so we're going to jump into to Boba Fett and get our reactions to episode 1. I can hear you. You're much quieter, but I can hear you. That's why you're quiet. That's perfect. I love it.
Is that the Death Watch helmet?
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
it is. Okay.
I love the
I knew it
little
looked
LED
different.
on the viewfinder.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
I think the
Oh,
Boba
wow.
Fett one does that too. I just never put a battery in it.
Oh, that is very cool. I love it. Very cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a Christmas gift from friends who are watching the podcast, and I promised them that I would premiere it as a very cool item on the
Very
podcast.
cool. That's
so
awesome.
yeah, it's a Death Watch Black Series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, I intend to rule with respect.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's
Really
good.
cool. So thank you guys for this is one of the best Christmas presents I had. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sweet. That's sweet. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Okay. So
Okay, our reactions.
yeah, well, so that was episode 1. We just finished that, did our reaction to it. Let's go around the horn. Let's start with Greedo. Initial
Oh,
thoughts.
good. Start with me.
Of course. Start with you.
No, I really liked it. I was engrossed the whole time. I don't know how long it was, but it packed a lot of information into one episode, so it didn't feel too short to me. It felt like a kind of a satisfying length. I don't know how long it was, but
I think it was about 39 minutes. It looked like the runtime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about the same as Mandalorian. They were saying that it was going to be longer episodes, but that didn't hold true for the first episode anyway.
Yeah, I liked all the character designs. I liked a lot of stuff that I was asking about was answered, and surprisingly, they got right to it.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. My first impression is I really liked it. I think it was a solid start. there wasn't if I was gonna kind of nitpick or whatever, there wasn't really much unexpected, I guess. And I would have liked to have seen it was more going for the iconography, it felt like on some of the episodes of The Mandalorian where they kind of play it safe a little bit or something. I don't know. It just felt very by the numbers, but it was still really cool. But there wasn't many moments that surprised me or grabbed me. Like Mandalorian episode 1 had the Grogu intro and had IG-11, and both of those characters, and the Imperials being on their heels. There was a lot of things that were slightly different than what I expected to. Very surprising. And this one just surprised me by how it went for it and just showed us everything from the get-go,
Right.
But I don't know that there was any like shocking developments or big strides as far as Boba Fett's character or anything. It pretty much played it more safe and just delivered kind of what you expected to see at it, So I'm not sure how I feel totally about that yet, but it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Gundark?
Same here. I agree that there wasn't a lot of unexpected stuff, but I really enjoyed the way they conceived of the stuff I did expect. Like we were worried about seeing too much about the Sarlacc pit and what happened, how he was rescued from that and all that. And I didn't feel like any of that was giving too much of a goofy explanation or anything. It just all seemed a natural backstory to me. And I really enjoyed seeing more of how he's starting to integrate into the criminal underworld on Tatooine and the Tusken Raider backstory. We'll go into more detail about that when we talk about specific scenes later. I really enjoyed it overall. Not disappointed.
Yeah, same here. I enjoyed it. I was entertained the whole time. I am glad that we got the backstory on how he got out of the Sarlacc and that they didn't really belabor the point. They just kind of got to it and showed it and it was done. And it was, although I'm still confused as to why a stormtrooper was in there.
Right. I think it's the 1,000 years thing.
Could be.
It's just from
that armor really holds up.
Jabba must have thrown one in at some point.
I'm guessing maybe he was one of the ones that was scouring the planet for droids.
Possibly. He's been in there.
Got sucked into the Sarlacc.
He's been in there 3 or 4 years easily or something.
But it was neat that they showed. That's like the first time we've ever gotten any like explanation of some of the mechanics that work with the stormtrooper suits. Pull the hose out and use it for oxygen and all that. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was different. Yeah. My first thought was, okay, who's that guy, and is he going to get his own series? or at least he's getting a comic. At least
a comic.
One comic to explain how he ended up in the Sarlacc and who he is. Right.
Of course. Overall, I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. Again, no real surprises, like you guys have said. I agree. But I enjoyed it. Thought they did a good job with it. I guess they got the job done because it leaves me wanting more. I'm ready to see okay what happens next. So it obviously appears that maybe this is going to be a running theme where we have dual storylines. Showing the present day versus constant flashbacks. Maybe every time he gets in the back to tank, we're just going to get the flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm thinking
we've obviously still seen things in the previews that are clearly going to be in the flashback that we haven't gotten to yet.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
It seems like we're probably going to get several episodes of him needing to go in the back to tank, which means there'll be more action. But I think it's kind of an affect at this point. Because I'm not sure why he needed to go in the back to tank in the first place, because in The Mandalorian he was just whooping ass relentlessly. He didn't show any like, oh, get me to my ship. After he went full rage on everybody.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, he was perfectly fine. I thought he was even tougher than before because of the whole Tatooine experience. So
I thought so too.
And I thought the Bacta would be kind of more of a cosmetic thing to restore his features or whatever, and the scarring. But they kind of made it into the story point so we can get the flashbacks in. But so I guess he's going to collapse into the Bacta quite a bit in this season. But I am intrigued by the backstory. I always have been ever since he showed up in The Mandalorian. it's, me, it's a double-edged sword with me. When they bring in something mysterious, I'm always intrigued, but I'm also fearful when they actually explain it because it's very difficult to deliver on those things. And sometimes it's better to let people imagine what it was like themselves than just come out and show you. And that's true since 2015, pretty much, of everything they've done with Star Wars. There have been a lot of mystery boxes and things introduced that are better left there than the explanations they come up with. But to me, this looks like it's going to be real straightforward, which is what I expected. What do you guys think of Tamira Morrison as like the lead?
Thought he was wonderful.
I thought you did a great job.
I like his understated performance, and like even in the scene when he's sitting on Jabba's throne and receiving tribute or meeting with people from the underworld, and he's just so straightforward. He's like, "What is this guy asking me? Is he asking me to pay him?" Huh?
What? I don't understand. I'm confused.
You can see how different he is in that world than Jabba was. So, and then walking the streets, without his helmet, rather than going around in a kind of a show of fake power.
Right.
I would. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just would like to know why he's that way. We don't know. That's the thing they're not filling in. We never knew much about Boba Fett except that he stood in the background and he got into action when they needed someone efficient, to do something. But now he seems to have a gaffi stick to grind or whatever about the way things have been done, which implies that he wasn't always happy with the way things were done, which he seemed really content before. So I'd love to know the story of why, how does that work out from when he started as a kid to now to where he'd want to change things instead of just being the boss?
You're right, because in Clone Wars, although I haven't seen all of it yet, I think I've seen most of the stuff with young Boba Fett, and isn't it just the child Boba Fett that's in the Clone Wars? So there's no real foundation for what he's become as an adult Return of the Jedi time. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Where did he get that kind of maturity? And will we get more of something like that at a backstory that even went before Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely leaving a few unanswered, areas like Greedo's saying. It's, because as a kid in Clone Wars, he was pretty despicable. He was
formed by that bounty hunter mentality. Totally.
There
was no one there to tell him, no, that's wrong. He had no role models.
It wasn't honor. It was
bounty
vengeance.
Hunters.
It was vengeance. It was
and
driving
money.
him then. Yeah.
Right. He just didn't have any.
That's exactly right, Gundar.
Yeah. And he there was that one episode where he kind of preached a little bit about honor, but it was more to just kind of say, you guys have no honor, you're trash or whatever. Like he was really felt better than other people. But when the chips were down, he just wanted the money. He was just as cynical as anybody else. So.
Exactly. So that'll be interesting to see where he did come up with this idea, his concept of honor and why he's, why he leads him to say things like, Jabba ruled with fear, I plan to rule with respect. And yet he's still even a self-admitted crime lord, which was kind of silly in a way that a crime lord doesn't refer to themselves as a crime lord.
That was meta, yeah.
But it was really funny to see him say that. It was well done.
Well, I think they're showing the starting point too.
Yeah.
And he isn't used to being the boss, and that's what he's saying. He's like, I'm used to working for these people, not them working for me. And so he has to have some things to do as the show goes on. And maybe this whole respect thing is what Tatooine taught him, and the Sand People taught him. Maybe we'll see that as it goes on. But it's weird to show him as having any kind of sympathy. He was a very sympathetic character in this episode, as far as he never looked down on anybody around him, except maybe that stormtrooper in the Sarlacc, who was probably already dead. But but he kind of tried to help people, or see the benefits of working together, like with Flinch, the Rodian or whatever. And he didn't wail on the kid when the kid was on the ground. He showed restraint, and thinking ahead, the kind of, and like the value of people around him a little more than I would have thought Boba Fett would have done. There's two ways they could have gone about this, and I was looking forward to both. So I wait to see an explanation, kind of. But I guess this is more of the new Boba Fett that we got flashes of in The Mandalorian, where yes, he's contentious, yes, he's a badass, he's not going to take any crap, but he's kind of a good guy too, you know, at his core. Like you saw him showing concern for Bo-Katan after they had all these words, and you know, he probably would have fought her to the death, but the next minute, since they're in this thing together, he's kind of showing her some respect. And so it's just a different side that I think probably, you know, and even the soundtrack and stuff, you know, I think a lot of this comes from Tamira Morrison's, how people perceive him, or you know what I mean? There's some stuff being blended into the character coming from that background and everything, which is really cool in a lot of ways. So, but yeah, I thought it was good, and definitely looking forward to more. And I really want to know if that was Max Rebo in the background, because that definitely could have been one of the modal nodes or whatever, the Cantina band that was playing the guitar. And I could swear that was the Cantina theme done in like a modern samba kind of arrangement or something.
Exactly.
But I'd have to listen to. I couldn't hear very well because of our audio streams were kind of blending together. Somebody had it on speakers, and it was coming through their microphone, so I couldn't really get it in real time. A great, but it sounded like dun, 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 dun.
I like the Anchorhead Easter egg.
Where was that?
He when he was talking to the Rhodian there, Flinch, when they were digging at the end.
Oh, if we can get to Anchorhead.
He's like, hey, we could get out of here. We could probably make it to Anchorhead. Although why do you know where Anchorhead is, I don't know, because he's not from there.
Wasn't that where
Sarlacc?
Was that where Fennec Shand was headed in the Mandalorian episode? I remember she was going to another city on foot to meet someone to get off planet, and that's why they went into the desert to catch her. But I also thought it was cool the balcony. It looked like the balcony from the Phantom Menace, kind of in that scene with the back to tank. It was reminiscent of that. A lot of prequel designs. There was that character design that kind of from the Force Awakens that never made it into the movie really. The guy with the flat helmet and Inspector or something or whatever his name was. It looked very similar to that, standing in the background, talking in some of the scenes. And I really liked the look of that bar. And also, did you notice how many times apologies was said by everybody? This seems to be the catchphrase or whatever, or the catchword.
Oh, my apologies, my apologies.
Yeah, you get the feeling they would, stab you in the back and say apologies.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, my knife ended up in your back. My apologies.
It sounds like a completely fake phrase that you're just expected to say that doesn't really mean you're sorry at all.
Well, I thought the Twi'lek at the beginning was great. The one sent there in place of the mayor. I mean, that was just a perfect representation of that type of character. I thought,
a lawyer,
just sarcastic and but like you said, completely fake. Saying
I have a prediction about that.
I'm so sorry. That's an understandable misunderstanding. Stuff like that. And then
I have a prediction about that. Actually,
it's okay.
That guy's going in the Rancor pit. And,
I think so too. Maybe next
they're
time
going to say, "Oh, it's a misunderstanding. Goodbye." Apologies.
They got to get him a new Rancor first.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll be one of those creatures with 6 arms or whatever, or 4 arms.
Yeah, it could be the Ray Harryhausen creature. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the Ray Harryhausen creature, why don't we talk about that scene real quick? I was surprised. I guess it's kind of cool seeing another creature that I had no idea existed in the Star Wars universe, because so much of the television show material has been dealing with stuff that we've already seen. But putting them in different circumstances or new circumstances. So it was really cool seeing a totally new badass creature rise up out of the Tatooine desert. and the throwback to Ray Harryhausen in terms of the old animation style and stuff.
And,
the way
I
it
was
was
thinking-
designed.
I almost was half wanting it to move like stop motion, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to CGI, actually have it move a little bit more like, like
Yeah,
stop motion.
exactly. Yeah.
That'd have been
I
perfect.
was thinking Jason the Argonauts when he was on its back, strangling it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it looked like a cross between it had chameleon eyes,
Mhm.
and then it almost looked like some kind of aquatic influence. But I was thinking John Carter on Mars the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That was very much who was it that wrote John Carter on Mars?
The guy who did Conan, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, I think so. Edgar Rice Burroughs, maybe.
did Edgar Rice Burroughs do Conan? I can't, or Tarzan, I guess maybe I'm thinking.
Yeah, whoever
I
did
think
John
it
Carter
was
on Mars.
Edgar Rice Burroughs.
I felt like that was a little bit of a tip of the cap to that, because the multiple arms and just the way the creature was designed really reminded me of that. And I wonder where the water comes from now. Like, are those its eggs? Or those?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was going to squeeze Flinch into one of those, like squeezes water into one of those containers and put it in the sand. And I was like, oh, that's where the water comes from.
That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, but it wasn't brutal enough. He deserved much worse.
Yeah, he
Speaking
really
as a fellow
did.
Rhodian, I was wanting to see his, whole ligaments pulled apart and
Yeah,
everything.
no offense, Greedo, but your people are kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
They're pretty vile. They're pretty untrustworthy.
Thank you.
They tend to be
Thank
very even when they're represented in Clone Wars. They're always that same type of character. Kind of you can't trust them. They're kind of despicable, but they lie to your face and just.
We're going to cancel you on Rhodia. That's fine. All these comments will be reproduced out of context. Although the context is pretty straightforward. You are
I'll be
racist
quoted
against
as saying,
Rhodians. It's
all
fine.
Rhodians are disgusting.
Yeah.
I hate them all.
The
They
next
should all
time you
die.
need something to stick to your shower door, don't come to a Rhodian about it. But yeah, one thing I'm getting pegged as being the Captain Negative or whatever. I'm not trying to be negative about this. But stuff jumps out at me because I am cynical and jaded. And one thing that I was disappointed in was the fight choreography, because it just felt. Did anybody notice who directed this episode?
It was Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Was it Rodriguez? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an editing thing. Maybe it's more than likely it has to do with the shooting schedule and all the elements that have to come together, because choreography, it takes an incredibly long time to do correctly. But I used to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Ming Na Wen. How do we say her name? I apologize if I totally mutilated.
No, that's right.
But and she had some incredible fight scenes on that TV show. That TV show was pretty mediocre overall. Won't get into that, but she was great on it, and she was kind of a Black Widow type character, if you're familiar with MCU. A normal person, but who totally whoops ass, kind of like Fennec Shand, And I could really, in this episode, I could kind of see the fight choreography. It took me out of it a little bit. Like, it didn't feel like a natural fight.
So you're saying
And
you
there
could
were
see that it
parts.
was these planned moves.
Yeah, and there was a lot of tight shots instead of. You always know when they're confident in their choreography if they can back up and show you what's going on.
Right.
And when they were throwing down, it cut to a lot of tight shots. A lot of edits that felt a little McClunky, they didn't flow really well. And I could see them telegraphing their, like I always hate the fight scenes where you're supposed to be swinging for a kill and you're swinging way over the person's head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's never any chance it's going to connect. But I'm sure those people worked really hard on it. I'm not really trying to criticize it. It still had, a visceral quality to it, and she's phenomenal. And everybody involved in that was really cool. I'll be interested to see if that guy she captured becomes another character, because he really had those intense eyes. I almost knew when it showed two of them. I just had the feeling she's going to kill one because she only needed one, and I thought, okay, the guy with the eyes is probably going to live, because he could be like, once they take the mask off, he could be like a character actor or something. But but I think it'll become obvious the mayor sent them. And
I was going to say the same thing, as I had a feeling those were the other group that he said.
Expect another
you may need
delegation.
another group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I did like with the fight choreography. I can see what you're saying, but I did like this fight is obviously parkour I did like the extreme long shot tracking shot of
Yeah,
the
those were
three of
cool.
them hopping across.
From building
The
top.
No, all that
roof.
was really cool.
That
Yeah.
That was really well done.
I like
nice.
the use of shields and the stun batons.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because I'm thinking like somebody must want them alive because
Yeah.
they got hit tons of times, all of them, because this trap actually worked pretty well. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for the Gramorians, they probably would have been doomed right there. So why hit them with stun batons unless you want them alive? If you go in there with anything else that has any lethality to it,
Yeah.
maybe because they're both armored characters a little bit in it, but I don't know. But it just seems like somebody's trying to take them alive and maybe make an example of them.
I
Or
do gotta say one more thing about that scene, the Gramorian Guards. Now that you brought them up, I loved them, and that because they're actually fighting. I mean, they're
Mhm.
like actually
Yeah.
doing something with their weapons
That was great.
instead
yeah.
of just.
what are their
being-
names? One of them's got to be
Yeah.
Gristle.
Gotta be what?
One of them's got to be Gristle.
Gristle.
Yeah.
Gristle
Squealing
and
and
fat.
tortured squeals. Tortured squeals. Should we hose down
Tortured
and feed your
squeals.
Gramorians?
Lard and Gristle, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Gristle and fat.
but yeah, those guys were great. And
Yeah.
they actually look like you wouldn't want to mess with them,
Well, I like the
Yeah.
fact that if you notice in the Mandoverse, they're all slimmed down from Return of the
Yeah.
Jedi. Like in the trailer, they're like these huge, obese, typical pig-looking things, and now like from Mandalorian and this, they're like much more slimmed down.
They're the Klingon version 2 or whatever.
Right, exactly.
From Star Trek.
Okay, one more thing about that fight scene, which will lead back to the beginning, the flamethrower. Oh, I loved the
That was cool.
flamethrower.
Yeah, that
coming
was
out.
really
the
cool.
guy just vaporized by the flamethrower, and then
That wasn't the
this-
flamethrower, that was a rocket launcher.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. The flamethrower
Yeah.
was in the Sarlacc pit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I've been waiting for it. When I think about when we met Boba Fett when we were kids
Yeah.
at one of the drugstores in Memphis or something.
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
were
That was a
doing
Fred's, yeah.
yeah, they were doing a signing for promotional signing before Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yes.
We hadn't even seen Empire Strikes Back yet, and they had a guy in a Darth Vader costume and a guy in a Boba Fett costume there.
Yep.
And the cool poster we had of Boba Fett that we had him sign was him shooting the flamethrower off his wrist, and that was just. And so been waiting for that,
Right.
since we were little kids.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool explanation for getting out of the Sarlacc pit too. Because
Right,
I mean,
yeah,
you
the
think about
flamethrower
the
is
people
like
who have fallen in
indigestion.
there, to
The
get
rocket launcher
to
kill
get
you're
this-
talking about, that was easily kill of the episode.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
That was
And that's
awesome.
just that's showing the two sides of Boba Fett.
Mhm.
Is that one that I think they brought to the foreground with Tamira Morrison is this rage aspect that we saw in The Mandalorian, which was really a breath of fresh air for me, although it's not what you remember the character at all from the old days. I just loved it in The Mandalorian when he showed up and he's still and he's quiet, but then when you push him, he just goes into full murder mode. And
Yeah.
I guess that's one reason I was a little disappointed was they did such a great job in The Mandalorian with the fight scenes there. And this felt more restrained or something, or I'm still waiting for the full, ape shit Boba Fett to emerge with the fury from the desert. Bring the fury, the desert fury.
Bring the fury.
But yeah, that I forgot what I was saying. What were we talking about? The Gramorians and
We're talking about, no, Gundark was just talking about the use of the flamethrower and the rocket launcher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get the knee weapons at some point, because I think Timothy Oliphant used the backpack jet, didn't he, or the backpack rocket? Somebody did last year.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Boba Fett used it to bring down the Imperial shuttle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the viewfinder, and
Mhm.
so we're slowly getting a demonstration of the whole the whole suit as we go along.
Right.
But
yeah, so I mean, any other thoughts on the episode 1 and what we're looking forward to going forward?
What about Greedo mentioned something interesting in the little intro video that he did yesterday before the premiere of the TV series, thinking about this TV series potential as a sequel to Return of the Jedi. Do you have any commentary on that from what we've seen so far?
That's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, obviously that's actually, I didn't think about that, because you're right, it does take place right after,
Yeah, well,
the
it's
events,
an
on the skiff and
extension
all that.
of the Jabba's palace storyline,
Mhm.
which was what was so shocking about the little intro they did in Mandalorian, was you had Bib Fortuna, you had the same set rebuilt. They really haven't gone there yet too much, except with the Gramorians, but the setting is there. They're obviously going to preserve this setting going forward, of Jabba's palace, and for future play sets and things like that, and video games and whatnot. But yeah,
I
I thought
it's gonna be interesting to see where this all goes, for sure.
yeah, but they really didn't. They did show us Max Rebo maybe, and he was on the skiff or on the barge, and I'd have to go back and look about that roadie, and I could swear I've seen that same coloration and everything on it, because there was several different Rhodians they used in Return of the Jedi in the background and stuff. But somebody that knows all that would know better than me. But I wonder if he's a reference to someone that may have survived. Like, where did they find him? I also thought it was weird that all these scavengers show up, and there's Jabba's barge is just trash laying there, this like $1 billion barge, and they just pick apart Boba Fett's armor. And it doesn't even show them like going through the wreckage. And then the same people show up and they just take the dude, and they don't take any of the technology laying around or
Maybe
whatever.
it had already been picked over before he got out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
How about that?
Could have been. Yeah, that's a good point.
it was cool kind of seeing the aftermath a little bit though. And
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah, seeing just the destroyed remnants of the barge and all that. Yeah, that was really interesting. And I love the fact that he came out of the side of the Sarlacc like that. Just kind of ripped through its jets basically and climbed out.
Everybody always thought it'd be his jetpack.
Yeah, right. I thought he would just like fly out through the mouth.
I like how he had to struggle out, and all of it was very convincing. I was kind of worried too about whether or not we were going to get an over-explained Sarlacc, escape. But I enjoyed it, and I liked how most of the flashback sequences were wordless. How everything was conveyed.
Yeah, once they got to dialogue, it was like a different show.
Yeah.
You had to readjust again because they started putting in the kind of more humor and things like that. Well, one thing I will say, and this is kind of what I was saying about earlier, is I feel like they played it safe a little bit across the board while still having that edge. But we have to remember what platform we're on and what kind of rating we're going for. Like, you can kick a guy over a building, but you can't show, you can hear him fall, but you can't show what happens.
See him like,
you can't have him go, no, please don't kill me, and then push him over. And in the Sarlacc, I would have loved to have seen more horror. Because people are slowly digested over 1,000 years, and a lot of people went in there. So I would have loved to have seen him crawling over people, like going, "Oh, Boba Fett, take me with you, help me, get out of the way." Crawling over their bodies to stay out of the stomach acid or whatever. And I would have loved to have seen just some ruthless stuff like that and more horror. It was pretty horrible in there, but they only showed a guy in armor, being digested. They didn't show any of the horror elements that we used to have tougher stuff. Remember Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? That created the whole PG-13 thing.
That's what created because they wanted to slap it with an R rating.
Right. We don't see anything like that out of this kind of newer, safer Star Wars. They do have a pretty mean streak sometimes, but like I said, they kind of passed on Flinch's death. They didn't really go fully into that. So that's my only thing, is I was hoping for a little more of the gloves off with this, because it's really what this show should be. And there's a male energy about it. Let's put it that way.
Well, I had every
down to the soundtrack
expectation that it would be, to be honest with you, with Robert Rodriguez in charge, and just saying it's Boba Fett. It's like one of the quote unquote manly characters. I just have a feeling it's going to be a very, very male energy centered show.
Well, I think you got the implication from. I think you got the implication from the one Rodriguez directed in Mandalorian, and just how violent and straightforward and action-packed, visceral that was.
Oriented,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To your point, Greedo, about you know, like I said, well, what we saw with, you know, the rhodium flinch, we got, you know, we only got a very, you know, kind of dumbed down version of what his actual death was. I kept waiting, honestly, during that scene, the way the creature was handling him, I kept waiting for him to just like rip him apart. You know, I kept waiting for like a head to come off or something.
Yeah, it
He literally had him around the body and around the head. I was just waiting for him to rip him open like that. I was like, yeah, that's probably a little too graphic for this show.
I kept flashing back to the orange goo comment from Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I thought he'd just squeeze his hands and the orange goo would come out between the fingers. That would have been enough for me. And just some kind of heinous squeal. The death squeal would have been awesome. But
wow.
But yeah, I'm expecting a little too much. But yeah, I'm really gonna enjoy this show for what it is. And
I think they did a good job of setting the table and kind of just getting the action started. And I do like the idea of the fact that they're maybe going to do parallel storylines like they did in this episode, showing the backstory with the current story, just because of the fact that I think I would prefer that to them starting the story and then derailing it for 3 episodes while they show a backstory and then coming back to it, you know?
Yeah.
At least this way you're getting the same, you know, each story moving forward each week, you know?
Yeah. Or telling it in chronological order and you have to figure out what's going on, or I think that was probably a wise choice. It's just I just hope he doesn't have to go in the back to tank over and over and over again, because that will get old. It kind of is, you know. I was wondering what he was, you know, healing incomplete or interrupted. It's like, what is he healing from? You know, sitting in Slave One,
right?
It's like, oh, my lower back.
So, a question for Greedo specifically. What episode are you predicting? So we got 7 episodes. In which episode will the magical child appear?
Well, I think the magical child has probably already appeared.
Oh, what character is that?
I think it's probably the Tuscan child, and carrying the head around or whatever. No, when will the magical child appear? I really think there is going to be. If they're going to have a twist or whatever in here, and why Boba Fett is trying to do this, I think there's going to be something in his backstory. I really do. That is going to bring out a sympathetic side of this character. I think the Sand People put him through that torment, and he earned their respect by surviving and by enduring it. And I think this is the new, you know, kind of face of the character. Is he's about endurance, survival. He's no longer just about the facade of cool. You got the feeling from the Mandalorian episode that he just didn't give a crap about hardly any of that. He wanted his armor back, but it wasn't about being the coolest bounty hunter in the galaxy or whatever, you know. So and Boba Fett's always looked like a survivor, you know, and everything. But now that mystery's gone and we know who he is, I think there could be something revealed in this backstory on Tatooine as they go forward that's going to help define the character and why he's doing what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Because we're really not sure why, except that he wanted to sit on that chair finally and know what that was like, which was cool enough. But they're showing some humanity to his character a little bit, and he's showing restraint. And there's something going on there. And there's some reason why, like he looked with disgust upon those raiders who were beating the moisture farmers and all that.
Right.
Maybe he just thinks it's low class, but he's already showing more sympathy for people in suffering and people without power. And you just didn't figure Boba Fett ever cared about that. He always glommed onto the people with power. Like, you're the ones who can give me what I want. You know, if I give you something, if I you know, do the dirty work for you, you're going to give me what I want. And this character doesn't seem as motivated by getting what he wants or by, you know, that kind of thing. So they're going out of their way to kind of show that he has empathy for people a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not a ton, but a little bit. So
yeah, exactly.
I think there's still something in that backstory. I still wonder if we'll get to see a sand person's face for the first time, or if they're going to leave that.
That would be interesting. I think we'll eventually get that for sure. But yeah, well, I don't think we've seen the last of that gang, you know, based on the previews we've seen so far. That Nikto gang that was beating up on the moisture farmer there, because they were on the speeder bikes and all that. And we've already seen, you know, action scenes with the speeder bikes and the Niktos on there. So we're gonna see. Plus, we haven't even gotten to that scene yet of the whoever those Niktos were beating up on the civilians, like inside some room, when Boba Fett walks in still wearing that same white, white garment or whatever. So we haven't gotten to all that. So obviously none of, that hasn't been resolved yet. I'm assuming that might be next episode.
Well, we're probably going to see a transition to who he became that we saw come out of the desert in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think so.
He's not there yet at all. He's still wearing that jumpsuit. He's still, kind of just figuring things out, and just now earned whatever place he's got in their tribe. But we've seen from the formula of these shows and stuff, they keep a pretty straightforward, simple narrative. They don't get real complicated. So everything we've seen, I think we'll see again. This is the story so far. They've established the story. I don't expect a ton of twists or anything. It's just going to go further into the story and have a lot of filler and fill out the world and stuff like that. But I think everything in the flashback, there's a possibility we'll see in the present. Everything comes to fruition. They don't leave stuff dangling out there. So I think whoever these moisture farmers are, that will come into play again in the present. Because Boba Fett may need more than just fear or respect to get where he's going in this storyline with the mayor and everything. And so it may take, usually it's all these elements. You go on a journey and then you draw the elements together at the end. Right. So anyway, but it's the interesting thing to me is, can he rule with respect, or is it going to be fear? Is he going to face the choice at some point, and will he just revert back to fear and say, okay, I was wrong. You people aren't worth it. And that could be represented by throwing that lawyer in the Rancor pit at the end. I would almost expect that to be the last shot of the show. But so anyway, good start.
Gundark, what any final thoughts on the episode?
Loved it. Looking forward to more. Kind of sorry it's only going to be 7 episodes, so looking forward to them.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it. I enjoyed episode 1. Again, it set the table well, because it definitely left me wanting more. So, which is what you're supposed to do. So I enjoyed it. Well, so we're gonna try and there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. Love
I
it.
intend to rule with respect. If I can see you through this helmet, or if you can even hear me.
I'm gonna go with fear. It's like I'm not gonna have my henchman be the master assassin and employ diplomacy. Sorry. My right hand is a master assassin. We're killing people.
I love it. All right, so we're gonna try and do weekly episode breakdowns like we did last year with Mandalorian. We're gonna try and do that with Boba Fett, and we'll see how that goes. So anyway, join us next week, and keep in mind that new episodes are now Wednesdays. They've been moved from Fridays to Wednesdays. So next Wednesday will be episode 2, and we'd love to hear your comments down below. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Apologies.
I'm sorry, I have my phone.
It's been a misunderstanding.
Very understandable misunderstanding.
I'm now going to go put up my
I can still hear you pretty well.
Can
What?
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Greedo.
What? What?
What?
Can you
What?
hear me now? I can barely see you.
She
How the hell
may
does
yet be
anybody
of no
do
use to us.
anything in one of these?
Pretty visual. You sound very feminine.